You ever wake up one October morning and realize your life's about to become a viral meme? Yeah, that happened to me, and all because I threw a skeleton pool party. I'm not talking about a couple plastic bones by the fence. I'm talking a full-blown, fog-drenched, neon-lit, 12-foot Grim Reaper doing the backstroke in my backyard, skeleton lifeguards and sunglasses, motion-activated zombies, and enough LED lights to make the mailman stop and gawk. The neighborhood kids loved it. Their parents loved it. Even the UPS guy took a selfie with the inflatable Reaper. But Karen Whitby, the queen of the Willow Creek HOA, did not. Now, if you've never had a Karen living across the street, count your blessings. This woman wore her pearl necklace like a badge of honor and gripped her clipboard. Like Excalibur, strutting around like every patch of grass was her family's ancestral right. She'd lived across from me for a dozen years and only ever smiled if it meant stapling a fine to someone's mailbox. So when she stormed into my yard, lips pursed and pearls rattling, I knew the skeleton's days were numbered. "Mr. Porter," she started, her voice slicing through the fog like a judge, reading out a sentence. "These displays are in violation of Section 4, Paragraph 7b. She said macabre displays of morbidity, so seriously, I almost offered her a chair at the Addams family dinner table. My 8-year-old was making a skeleton dab in the background. I tried to keep it civil, even offered her a cup of cider. She snapped 100 photos and promised a violation notice by sunrise, then tripped over my extension cord as the zombie speaker groaned to life. The only thing scarier than the sound was the look on her face. 2 hours later, I'm flipping burgers and the police roll up. Sirens, lights, the whole 9 yards. My heart's pounding, not because I'm scared, but because I know exactly who made the call. The officers were trying hard not to laugh. One even asked if he could grab a burger. After a quick stroll around, they radioed back to dispatch. "It's just skeletons, no laws broken here." They thanked me for the entertainment and left. And I swear Karen's glare from across the street could have melted the plastic off my Halloween tombstones. That night, the HOA email hit my inbox like a bad joke. Immediate action required. Escalating fines, possible legal action, all for skeletons on pool floaties. They even circled my orange extension cords in the attached photos like they'd found evidence of a crime spree. The real kicker? Thematic offensive content. Was it the Reaper's shades or my dog's pumpkin cape that pushed them over the edge? I couldn't decide. The fines rained down, $50 for unapproved grave markers, $75 for ambient audio, read, Monster Mash on level 3, and $25 per day for flickering lights. I'm a structural engineer. I run power like I'm wiring the space station. But none of that mattered. To the HOA, I was now public enemy number 1. I called the number on the violation letter. Karen herself picked up, already in battle mode. She talked about elevated tranquility like it was a lost religion. I countered with, "Karen, it's October." Silence. Then the letters escalated. Now it was auditory intimidation. If I played music, even at a whisper, code enforcement started swinging by, flashlight in hand, jotting notes in the dark while the neighborhood watched from behind curtains like we were living out a suburban soap opera. By midweek, my mailbox was stuffed with threats. Final notice. Immediate escalation. Daily fines stacking up. The neighborhood split. Karen's army of lawn perfectionists on one side, the kids, and anyone with a sense of humor on the other. Petitions showed up. Restore dignity and uniformity went up, and 2 hours later someone taped up a counterpetition. Restore fun and basic human joy. The HOA Facebook group exploded into a digital battlefield. I posted a photo of the skeletons and earplugs, 40 likes before Karen deleted it. My son asked if she was building an army. I told him, "Clipboards for swords, buddy." Then came the final straw, $500 a day if I didn't take everything down by Monday. I tried to act unbothered, but every new email made my chest tighten. I watched my favorite month get strangled by bureaucracy, piece by piece. Monday morning, with my daughter watching, I started packing it all away. Inflatable Reaper, deflated. Skeleton lifeguard, boxed up. One kid asked if the skeletons died. Again, I told him they were just hibernating till next year, but honestly, it felt heavier than that. But then, I had an idea. See, HOA bylaws are long, boring, and written to kill joy. But buried deep in Section 12D displays of a religious or cultural nature, are exempt. Halloween's roots? Older than Christmas. The Celts called it Samhain, a festival for the boundary between worlds. Religious enough for the IRS, so why not for the HOA? I printed the clause, slapped it on my fridge, and called my neighbor Frank, retired attorney, AC/DC fan, and collector of Halloween masks. He laughed so hard when I told him my plan, he almost choked on his pipe. Frank's advice? Archive everything. Every violation, every email, every sideways look. You don't win by yelling louder. You win by keeping better records. So, I went to work. I transformed my Halloween display into an annual Samhain cultural exhibit, complete with little info plaques and a signed sighting. Section 12D. The neighborhood started gathering again. Phones out, kids curious, Karen pacing on her curb like a cat about to pounce. She fired off emails, abuse of religious exemption, mockery of faith-based protections, each one more frantic than the last. Frank just grinned. She's writing your case for you. Let her dig. By midweek, screenshots of Karen's rant started, leaking to the Facebook group. Memes popped up. Let the Reaper float free. Next door went wild. Local news picked up the story. Even the city code officer dropped by, this time, to say he found no violations. Keep the faith, he said, and tipped his hat. Karen, meanwhile, called an emergency HOA meeting. The clubhouse was packed. Neighbors, cops, city officials, even popcorn in the back. Karen tried to grandstand, but I had the receipts, printed bylaws, recorded quotes, even the code officer backing me up. Frank had taught me well. Play it calm. Let her unravel herself. She lost her temper. The crowd recorded everything, and by the end, even her allies were backing away. Linda Jacobs, the quiet board member, stood up and read her the riot act. By the next morning, Karen was out as president, the city launched an audit, and the neighborhood celebrated with skeleton cookies. I kept the pool display up till Thanksgiving, now officially a cultural exhibit. Next year's party. Chief of mischief, unpaid but spiritually rich. And when October rolled around again, the pool of doom was back, this time by popular demand. That's the thing about standing your ground. Sometimes you don't just win the fight, you rewrite the rules. And the best part? The kids in the neighborhood think the skeletons have always been part of Halloween, never knowing how close. We came to losing the fun to one woman's obsession with order. So let me ask, have you ever tangled with a rule-happy HOA? Did you ever get fined for having too much fun? Drop your story below. Let's see who's really survived the suburbs. Because sometimes, the trick to living here is knowing exactly which monsters are just for decoration that you'd think after all that. The Poolgate Showdown. Karen's ousting, Frank's pipe smoke victory lap. The neighborhood would settle back into some kind of quiet, boring normal. For a while, it almost did. That winter, people started decorating with a kind of mischievous freedom. Snowmen dressed like rock stars, inflatable menorahs, a plastic nativity with a Darth Vader in the manger. And nobody called the HOA hotline because, well, the HOA was too busy rewriting half its rulebook and doing some serious soul-searching under Linda Jacobs' new leadership. Honestly, for the first time in years, Willow Creek felt like a real place to live, not just some step-forward experiment in uniformity. I'd see Frank out there, pipe in mouth, waving at Linda as she made her community rounds, now more about handing out cookie recipes than violation slips. The kids started a club called the Pumpkin Patrol, which mostly meant sneaking around taping googly eyes to random mailboxes and traffic signs. The only complaint was from a retired dentist who claimed the eyes threatened property values. But even he started handing out full-size candy bars by October. Me? I thought I'd finally get to take a breath, maybe even enjoy my engineer's life in peace for a season. But you know how it is. Just when things settle, something new comes knocking. This time, it wasn't Karen or even anyone from the old guard. It was a new family, the Lees, who moved into the greenhouse at the corner, right where Karen once staged her infamous Preservation Committee stakeouts. They had 2 little girls, a basset hound named Daisy, and a giant smiley face flag waving over the porch. Within a week, their mailbox was covered in Pumpkin Patrol googly eyes, and they left a plate of lemon bars at my door with a sticky note that read, "Love your pool skeletons. Can't wait for October." A week later, I get a knock. It's Mr. Lee, grinning and holding a roll of blueprints. Turns out, he's an architect. Big ideas, big gestures. Not afraid of a little pushback. You're the guy with the Halloween thing, right? He says. How would you feel about expanding? I laughed, thinking he meant a couple more skeletons. But no, this guy wanted to take it up a notch. Why not do the whole block, he said. A Willow Creek Halloween festival. Costumes, lights, food, maybe even a charity drive. Honestly, at first, I balked. After everything with the HOA, did I really want to stick my neck out again? But then I thought about Frank's advice, about not fighting noise with noise, about picking your battles, and also about knowing when to enjoy the win. And I thought about my kids, the Lee's little girls, all those neighbors who finally felt like they belonged. So I said, why not? And that's how Project Skeleton Parade was born. We spent spring and summer sketching out plans, glow-in-the-dark path markers, floating lanterns, scarecrow contests, a food truck parked where Karen used to patrol. With her measuring tape. Linda loved it. She even convinced the board to allocate a small community grant to help pay for extra lights and snacks. And this time, nobody objected. If anything, folks started fighting over who got to put up the silliest decorations. The Pumpkin Patrol upped their game. Giant googly eyes on the school bus, stick-on mustaches for the mailbox angels, you name it. By the time October rolled around, Willow Creek looked like something straight out of a Tim Burton movie. Even old Mrs. Rowe, who once yelled at me for having a pink flamingo in my flower bed, put a skeleton in a rocking chair by her front window, knitting, with a tiny yarn pumpkin in its lap. The Lees built a haunted maze in their yard out of cardboard boxes, and Frank, not to be outdone, rigged up a system where his porch ghosts would cackle every time someone walked by. I'm not saying there was some competitive spirit, but, okay, maybe a little. On Halloween night, the whole neighborhood came out, parents in costume, kids running wild. Even the city code officer stopped by, off-duty, just to snap a photo and grab some chili. There was music, laughter, even a spontaneous dance party by the pool. The Reaper was back in his floaty, this time with a rubber ducky inner tube and a sign that read, "Still not a violation." But here's the thing, somewhere in the middle of all that noise and light, I realized the real twist. It was never about the skeletons or even about winning against Karen. It was about finding a way to bring people together, to turn the ugliest, pettiest conflicts into the kind of stories people actually want to tell each other years from now. The HOA wasn't the villain anymore. It was just a bunch of neighbors, some with a little too much time, all trying to make the place feel like home in their own weird ways. Frank wandered over, pipe in one hand, mug in the other, and nudged me. See? Sometimes you don't have to fight the monsters. Sometimes you just invite them to the party. I grinned, thinking he was probably right. The pool shimmered under the fairy lights, skeletons bobbing, kids shrieking, and somewhere in the noise, I thought I heard even Karen, now living in a condo downtown, laughing at the madness from afar. After everyone left, I sat by the water, beer in hand. Reaper floating quietly. I thought about everything we'd been through, the fines, the emails, the Facebook drama, and felt grateful, honestly. Not for the headaches, but for the reminder that community isn't something you get just because you paid HOA dues. It's something you build, sometimes with stubbornness, sometimes with paperwork, but mostly with a sense of humor and a whole lot of patience. So if you ever find yourself up against a clipboard army or a neighbor who hates fun, just remember, rules don't build community, people do. And sometimes, all it takes is one skeleton in a pool to remind everyone what living really looks like. What about you? Ever seen your neighborhood turn from battleground to block party? Got a story where the monster turned out to be the best part of the adventure? Go ahead, drop your wildest HOA or neighbor tales below. You never know, maybe next October, we'll all be swapping stories by the pool, skeletons, rubber ducks, and all.